everyone. Today I want to talk to you about a substitute for return, SFR. Now, what is an SFR, a substitute for return? This is a return that the IRS will file for you if you don't file a tax return. Now, usually it takes them a couple of years or so, 2 or 3 years, before they will file an SFR. But eventually they will file one for you. And this you don't want. And the reason why you don't want this is because if the IRS files an SFR for you, the amount owed is going to be greatly exaggerated due to the fact that you don't get personal exemptions and other credits and deductions that you might be entitled to. When they file the substitute for return, you're basically only getting the standard deduction. So it would be in your best interest to file your past due returns. Otherwise, it's going to show that you owe thousands of dollars to the IRS that you actually don't owe. What happens before they will file the SFR? They'll send you a notice of proposed assessment. And what that is pretty much it's an educated guess as to how much they think you will owe for that particular tax year. Again, it's a notice of proposed assessment. It's not etched in stone, and you don't owe that amount. They're just basing that off of other information that they've received and from prior year's tax returns. So, um, again, the SFR, substitute for return, is when the IRS will file it for you. And it's, again, it would not be in your best interest to do that. If you ignore the notice of proposed assessment that you receive and they do end up filing a return for you, this could lead to wage garnishments, bank levies, liens on your property, and in most cases, that drama can be avoided, so to speak. So even if you don't have the money to pay if you owe, it's better to file your returns than not file your returns. So much can happen on the negative forefront if you don't file your tax returns. Again, there's the possibility of wage garnishments, bank levies, liens on your property, and these things will affect you, especially a lien, because that gets reported on your credit report. So, for those of you who are concerned about your credit report, which most people should be concerned about their credit report, the lien gets placed on your credit report, and liens are very, very bad on your credit report. So, regarding the substitute for returns, again, simply filing your past due return will eliminate most of the proposed tax debt that the IRS states that you owe. Because again, when you file your return yourself, you know what personal exemptions, what credits, and other deductions that you're entitled to, and you will take those deductions. But the IRS doesn't give you those deductions, even if they were to know about them. You're just getting the standard deduction. So, for those of you who have past due returns that you've not filed, especially if it's been over 3 years and you've received notices from the IRS, please do not ignore the notices. It's not going anywhere. The notices will continue. The penalties and interest will continue to accrue, and eventually a molehill will turn into a mountain, so to speak, and you'd have all kind of problems because if you miss the time to respond to them, then basically you forfeited your chances of correcting your tax situation. And then in that case, even if you didn't owe thousands of dollars, if you ignored it and just did nothing about it and the time frame has passed, you're going to be paying money that you didn't necessarily have to pay. So again, when the IRS files for you, it's called a substitute for return, SFR, and you don't want this to happen. File your past due tax returns, even if you owe and don't have the money to pay. Again, it's better to file than not to file. You can find out more information about substitute for returns on the IRS's website, which is www.irs.gov. Or there are other various links on the web that you can refer to as well. But in a lot of cases, with those links, those are companies advertising their services, stating that, oh, they can get you out of this situation that you're in. Again, for substitute for returns, it's a pretty easy fix, meaning that just file your past due returns and you should reduce that tax liability quite a bit. Now, more than likely, there's going to be penalties and interest that has been tagged onto it. But you can possibly abate some of those interest and some of that interest and penalties as well by filing a Form 843, which is a penalty abatement. You can find information on this form on the website, the IRS website as well. And for those of you who have tax issues or tax matters that you need to deal with, and you want an honest and ethical opinion, please feel free to visit my website at www.audiotexthelp.com. Again, that's www.audiotexthelp.com. AUDIOTAXHELP.com. And let us know if we can help to make your life a little less taxing.